this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to convert between frame rates in Premiere Pro. For this example, we'll be using 29.97 frames per second progressive footage, and we'll be converting to 23.976 frames per second progressive footage. Keep in mind that you can use this technique for any other progressive to progressive material conversion. You should be familiar with the basics in Premiere Pro before watching this tutorial. You can learn the basics by watching the overview tutorial first. Here we have a 1080p sequence and the frame rate is 23.976. We are adding footage that's 29.97 frames per second. You can see as I advance forward through the timeline that it's dropping frames. What we need to do is go to Clip, Modify, and interpret footage. Here we can tell our footage to assume the frame rate of 23.976, so it will be the same as the timeline. Our 29.97 footage is simply conforming to the frame rate of the timeline, so now it plays each frame when I advance frames forward. Now when I add Twixtor, I see that the frame just turns orange. If you're wondering why, that's because my footage is 1280 by 720 and my sequence is 1440 by 1080, so they don't match. The best way to avoid this dilemma and the resulting orange frame is to just select the footage that we'll be using on our timeline and go to File, New Sequence from Clip. Note, this option is available in CS5 and later. Also note that we are using the footage that we interpreted to 23.976 in the previous step. As we advance frames, Premiere Pro will now play every frame of the clip at the new frame rate. This will make the clip either longer or shorter. Longer if the new frame rate is lower than the original, which it is in this example. Since we learned in the overview tutorial that we need to make an extended sequence to apply Twixtor to, we will duplicate our clip and then make a new sequence and apply Twixtor to this extended sequence. Now that we've applied Twixtor to the extended clip, we can set Twixtor's speed percentage to the input frame rate divided by the output frame rate. In this case, we're converting 29.97 to 23.976. So we would set Twixtor's speed percentage to 125%. We can now render this clip and take a look at the result. If your footage has audio, then you'll need to duplicate your clip prior to modifying the frame rate and then delete the audio from the Twixtor clip and add the audio back from the original clip to ensure proper sync. Let's look at one more quick example to make sure you really get this. Here we have a 30p sequence and footage that's 59.94 frames per second. We're going to drop this footage into the sequence, and when we advance frames, you can see that it skips every other frame. That isn't good because Twixtor will see half the frames to start with. So let's delete that and go back to Modify and assume the frame rate 29.97. Now we can go to File, New Sequence from Clip, and if we step through now, you can see that we have every frame. So this is how you handle footage with a different frame rate than the sequence that you would like your output to be in Premiere Pro.